scene on a dark night. Sound of whispers and fear, narrator. Imagine hiding in fear, too scared to even go outside. Your enemies are everywhere, stealing your food, destroying your land. You feel weak, helpless, like nothing can change. And indeed, that's exactly how the people of Israel felt. The Midianites had taken over. Every time the Israelites grew crops or raised animals, the Midianites would come and steal everything. The Israelites cried out to God for help, and guess what? God answered. But he didn't choose a mighty warrior. He didn't pick a great king. He chose Gideon. Right, Gideon was not a strong warrior. He was not a leader. In fact, he was hiding when God sent an angel to speak to him. Angel, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Gideon, shocked, looking around. Mighty warrior, me? If God is with us, why is all this happening? Where are his miracles? Narrator. Gideon doubted. He felt weak, but God saw something in him that Gideon didn't see in himself. Angel, go, you will save Israel from the Midianites. I am sending you, narrator. Gideon was afraid, but he asked God for signs. First he placed wool on the ground and asked God to make it wet with dew while the ground stayed dry. God did it. Then he asked for the opposite, the wool dry but the ground wet. God did that too. Gideon finally believed. Narrator. Gideon gathered an army with 32,000 men, but God had other plans. God, you have too many men. If you win with this many soldiers, Israel will think they won by their own strength. Narrator. God told Gideon to let anyone who was afraid go home. 22,000 left. Only 10,000 remained. God, still too many. Take them to the water. Watch how they drink. Narrator. Most of the men knelt to drink, but only 300 scooped water with their hands and stayed alert. God, these 300 men will fight with you. Narrator. 300 men against an army too large to count. But God had a plan. Narrator. Gideon gave each man a trumpet, a torch, and a clay jar. No swords, no shields, just trumpets, torches, and jars. Gideon whispering. When I give the signal, blow your trumpets, break your jars, and shout, for the Lord and for Gideon. Narrator. In the middle of the night, Gideon and his 300 men surrounded the enemy camp. They blew their trumpets, smashed their jars, and held up their torches. The Midianites woke up in terror. Confused and afraid, they started fighting each other. The mighty army of Midian ran away. Israel had won without even lifting a sword. Narrator. What can we learn from Gideon? First, God sees more in us than we see in ourselves. Gideon thought he was weak, but God called him a mighty warrior. Second, we don't need to be the strongest or the best. God uses small things to do big miracles. And finally, when we trust God, even the impossible can happen. 300 men defeated an army too big to count, not by their own power, but by God's power. So next time you feel small, weak, or afraid, remember Gideon. If God can use him, he can use you too. Fade out.